Scott, final take.
It's a great movie.
Yes.
It's a visual experience.
There you go.
You wouldn't know so based off of its 2 out of 4 stars today here on the podcast. We can move on from it.
How did Callie feel about it?
Oh, yeah.
No, I don't remember. We didn't watch this one in particular because I didn't want to listen to her tell me that she didn't like it.
So it's 1.5 out of 4. Denial's a gift. Dave.
Denial.
I'm not the Zodiac. And if I was, I certainly wouldn't tell you.
That's a nice watch.
Thank you.
May I see it? Where'd you get it?
It's a Christmas gift from my mother 2 years ago.
That's very sweet. So tell me something, Arthur. You don't remember anyone you might have had a conversation with regarding the Zodiac?
Welcome to the iKnowBadeaux podcast.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to the iKnowBadeaux podcast, coming at you from the Slice Studios. I am Mayor Dave Badeaux of the city of Brainerd, and with me, as always, is my brother.
Yeah, I'm going to stop you there. This sounds like a bad movie.
Good enough for me. All right. With us, as always, Gabriel Johnson. What say ye?
Dave,
Yes.
baseball season is right around the corner.
It is.
I'm a little excited.
Okay.
Practice starts as soon as the fields are dry.
That's
Outside
right.
practice
Yeah,
starts
yeah.
as soon as the fields are dry.
For the youth.
For the Utes.
Utes.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I'm excited as well. My son is the captain of the high school baseball team.
Oh, good on you.
There's 3 captains. But,
A
he has taken on the role of leadership. His buddy is also a captain, but basically told me, So
Is he a pitcher?
he is a pitcher. Yeah,
Okay.
he's a submariner. So yeah. Hey, also that voice, ladies and gentlemen, back by popular demand. It's Kevin Yeager.
Happy to be here.
Kevin Yeager, 30 seconds to explain yourself. Go.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm from Colorado. I think we've done this before,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I have 4 daughters. I have 1 left at home.
Okay.
I do a lot of work for the city, as do a couple of the other people here that I'm with. And,
I
yes,
feel
absolutely.
left out.
Yeah, no, you do. Yeah, you do other things, man. Right? Everyone's got to. But happy to be here. And hey, anytime I get an invite to talk about movies, one of my passions, count me in. So here I am.
Yeah, so we have quickly become a 1/4% movie podcast, I would say. Maybe even more than that. We have a 5-week cycle in terms of what our episodes are.
Mm-hmm.
One of those is typically movies related, but then we're always talking about movies in our other ones as well.
Surprised you didn't know that.
But this in particular is the wrap up that we've done. This is the 3rd time we've had you on.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about the movies of the 80s.
Yep.
Then we talked about the movies of the 90s. And now, ladies and gentlemen, this is the movies of the aughts.
Yes.
And now we're pleased to bring you our feature presentation.
So before we get started, let's talk just real briefly. We have went through movies from every year from 88 all the way until 2008. Most of those have been your tentpole blockbuster or comedies or something quirky.
Mm-hmm.
This,
Your Leprechaun 4s.
Your Leprechaun 4s, The Pest, which, again, huge outcry of support for The Pest.
Right.
Amazed by that.
TikTok loves it.
TikTok loves The Pest. Maybe a little too much. Starting to worry about you, TikTok. However, this is the episodes of the podcast where we get a little bit more art housey, a little bit more in depth on some films that are not for
films.
Films.
We're not talking movies now. We're talking film.
Cinema.
We're talking cinema, baby.
Yes, the cinema episodes. And I happen to know that Kevin Yeager loves cinema.
Yes.
And you and I have a tendency to talk in even just our brief moments before meetings about various different movies and specifically getting into maybe some more minutia details.
Yeah, it's one of the things I look most forward to at city council meetings is you and I gushing about the movies that we're watching before the meeting actually happens.
Yes. Yes.
Have you caught the Minecraft movie yet?
No.
Oh, well, highly recommend.
Gabe has consumed.
It was a blast in their packed movie theater. All like middle school age kids just going
nuts.
crazy the
Going
whole
nuts.
time, just having fun.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said for like specific movies and experiences. Like I said, I hated Anchorman the first time I saw it because the volume was too low. Like nobody in the theater could hear it, so no one was laughing. It was a really miserable experience. Then I watched it at home and I loved it. But I think that movie in particular, we all should probably go watch it with a bunch of 12-year-olds to see how is this movie supposed to be received. Do the jokes hit?
Well, because it is clear, let's be honest, filmmakers right now are not making movies for us. No one sitting here that is really the target audience anymore.
No, and I think it's a good way to start this conversation off because we have kind of said the reason why we stopped at 2008 is because everything after that is all kind of homogenous, the same thing. Comedies are dead by 2009. I think I actually have here The Hangover, which I believe is 2009. That's kind of I would say the death of comedy right about then.
Yeah, that's you guys are getting old and getting married. We're not making anything for you anymore.
Yeah.
Comedy's coming back.
Is it? Which one?
The Naked Gun.
Oh yes.
With Liam Neeson.
Okay, so let's say, did that even make the episode or did I cut that out because it was so goddamn stupid?
I don't know.
In a very
listen.
In a very Mayor Dave moment said, Isn't Liam Neeson Leslie Nielsen's son?
Yeah.
As I said it, I was like, those aren't even the same names.
Close.
But I think what happened was like in one of my late night stupors, I had caught wind that this was happening. So Liam Neeson is playing Leslie Nielsen's son in the new Naked Gun. But you caught who the director is, didn't you?
The Hot Rod guy.
Hot Rod, Akiva. Yeah. So from Lonely Island. And we're huge Hot Rod fans. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but
Nope.
Highly recommend.
highly recommend. It's maybe not a Kevin Yeager cinema
It's
fantastic.
not a film.
Oh, it is definitely not a film.
It's a movie.
Okay, so that's enough of just nonsense BS to start the episode. But we've made a selection of a handful of films that we all then sat down and watched as many as we could. And now we're going to go through and just kind of talk about them and why we selected or the things that we like about them. And we'll get kind of down the list here into the Kevin Yeager selections. We're going to start off with two films that came directly from this group that we wanted to talk about in the episodes they were in the year of and just never got around to. And the first of which is Children of Men.
Yes.
Let's talk about it. Scott, give me your quick rundown on Children of Men.
It's a really good movie, I think.
Yeah, just before we started,
That's not foreshadowing.
Kevin said he doesn't like it. So we're waiting on Kevin here.
No, it's a really good movie. It's set in like 2027, so it's set like right now. Right? Set in the future, and like a lot of movies nowadays and shows, people can't have babies.
Mm-hmm.
And my favorite part is set at the Battersea Power Station.
Mm-hmm.
They're in the meeting. In the background, out the window, the pig is flying from the cover of Animals, Pink Floyd's 1977 album.
Oh, yeah.
Same power station, same pig.
a minute detail from a interesting film.
My favorite part, though.
Well, I hear that. You said that. I'm disappointed because Kevin says that he's not a huge fan of the film. I actually love this film as well.
I'll just jump in real quick.
Okay, let's
go.
go.
Here's the thing: when I say that I'm not a fan of the film, I'm not a fan of a film that takes this trajectory. I'll say that. I actually think the film is good. I like what the premise is. I think it's fascinating. When I first started watching it, I'm like, oh, what's going on here? No, they can't have. This was the last, when I started hearing the language of this is the last born person, I was like, wow, what's going on? What is this? And I was a little concerned right off the bat that it was going to take a political tangent right off, which throws me off right off the bat on movies. If I feel like I'm being lobbied when I'm watching a movie, it's out.
I like that.
But I was a little nervous, but it didn't go that direction at all. So I was engaged right off the bat and felt like it was going the right direction. Felt like it was a good movie. Here's the issue that I had with Children of the Men, and I have this other a similar issue with films like Unbroken or the Boba Fett series, which once it gets going a certain direction, it just kind of stays going that direction for a lot of the film. I felt like this was mostly a film about people running from other people for about an hour and a half.
Yeah, protect the baby.
Yeah, protect the baby. And that's really what, when I said I didn't like it, I guess to be more clear, I should say that I just didn't like that type of storytelling. I don't need an hour-long chase scene to understand that you're running for your life. Give me a few minutes, right?
That's a fair take.
Then that's it. Because
I feel like I could Rings.
There you go. I feel like I could have fast forwarded 40 minutes, kind of got to the end. Oh, great ending. So beginning good, ending good, payoff was good, the foreshadowing pretty good.
The middle portion, the road trip comedy portion of the film, you were not a huge fan of.
Not a fan.
The road trip.
Exactly. It was feeling a little like The Walking Dead in the middle, where it's the same thing. You know,
Little Miss Sunshine.
Yep, that's it. So I wouldn't say that I hated the movie at all. Just there were parts of it that I thought could have continued on and moved a little quicker. That's all.
It's
interesting though.
It's a format. I think you're right. It is a format that is very Walking Dead. The beginning and the end, not so much, but the middle portion of it is there are moments of pause and rest where there's chaos, we're always in danger, and then there's a moment of pause and rest that is always interrupted by something that causes us to move on, which is just a MacGuffin, right? That's all it really is.
It could go on forever.
It could go on forever.
You have, okay, we're running for our lives, okay? This happens, this happens, this happens, this happens. You just grab ideas from people off the street.
Yes.
But now what happens next?
Yeah.
Oh, and then what? And then, and then, and then.
Where would you like to see them go next? Which city should we hit up next? I will agree to that. There's a couple beats in there that I enjoy. There's the Michael Caine. As always, if you're going to get Michael Caine in there, you've got me for a little bit.
Great character.
Yeah. I think that's my favorite part of that movie is his little inclusion in there where he's a part of the resistance.
He's a rebel.
He's a rebel. He's a hippie, but then also, just realizing his station in life and where this is going to go. And he's going to play his role, right? He's going to play his role and he plays it well. So I really like this movie. I remembered really liking it. I think it's interesting that it didn't do, it did well. It just wasn't like meteoric, and it's not often talked about now. It's not a film that you hear a lot about, which is interesting to me because it was a large budget. It did fairly well, and it's a fairly good movie, no matter what Kevin says. Yeah. It's interesting that you never hear about it anymore.
Right.
You never hear about this movie.
Yeah, agreed.
I think The Handmaid's Tale took over the can't have baby genre.
Sure.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, but you would have thought that people.
Handmaid's Tale.
That's what I thought you said. The handsmaid.
The handsmaid tale.
The tale that is crafted.
That was made by hands.
The Tito's hand-filtered vodka. Clive Owen.
Yep.
Every time I watch a Clive Owen movie, I think, I really like this Clive Owen fellow.
Yep.
Yeah, and you never see him anymore either.
No, he hasn't been anything.
Yeah.
This was also one of those movies where the most important character to the story was not the lead character in the storytelling, right? So you could argue the most important character is the girl who managed to get pregnant somehow, right? Yeah. But they really didn't spend any effort developing her story. We know hardly anything about her. They didn't develop her. They didn't really insert her into the story other than she needs to be
children
protected.
of men, Kevin.
Okay. I got it. All right.
Time for these.
It's in the title.
No, she is an escort mission.
Yes, I will say. So now there's on HBO, The Last of Us, which is a video game series. You say The Walking Dead. This is The Last of Us because it's the exact thing. She is the one we must save, and we must protect her, and we must go on this journey with our short pauses from time to time. But they do a better job of going back and explaining what her backstory is, partially because it's a series and we can insert more of that. But you are right. The most important character is not really drawn upon other than she's just a pregnant black woman.
Right.
That's a young pregnant girl that she's not really a sassy black woman by any means.
It's not like they didn't have plenty of time to develop her character.
Totally different movie.
They were on the run half of the movie.
They had plenty of
They could
time.
have asked her how she was doing, where she came from.
What's your name?
These are all truths.
No, she's just a package.
She is.
She is a package to be delivered.
This is true. Yeah, definitely. I like the visual side of things. I'm a big fan of worlds that are war torn, or in this case, typically what happens in this type of stuff is like, how does society devolve? And I thought they did a really good job of that. Is as soon as the last human being is like an adult.
Yep.
As soon as the last baby is an adult, society will crumble.
Yeah, and that to me was the most fascinating part because of the story is just how fast the world changed. And I really, to this day, I think could happen.
It's what would happen, yeah.
You know, something could just go off the rails and boom, it's complete anarchy, and it could happen super duper fast.
Or if we stopped having children, it would happen. I mean, that's probably a light version.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
And again, this is an episode full of spoilers, but at the end of the movie, when people finally see the baby, there's this moment of like, holy shit, that's a baby.
Right.
And babies do tend to have that type of reaction by people, even now when you see babies. But if you hadn't seen a baby for 18 years.
If you'd never seen a baby in your life?
Yeah, if you'd never seen a baby. Do you want to know the part that I disliked the most about it? They go like, ooh, wow, look, it's the chosen one and the child. And then back to fucking chaos. Like,
Well, it's what happens.
We'll get back to you later.
All it takes is one person. Everybody stops fighting. One person, even if by accident, pulls the trigger.
Oh, yeah,
boom.
we're fighting.
Well, now I got to fight back. And then boom, now it's fucking chaos
And
again.
we're fighting again. Any more thoughts on Children of Men? I don't think we need to dwell on it too much.
No, loved the animals homage.
A good film, cast-wise, very excellent.
Yeah.
I thought it was a little weird. Like I always like to see what they do with the cars and stuff as well. Like, what is it? What is your futuristic vehicle going to look like?
A little weird on that.
Super weird on that.
A little weird on that.
Lame. I would actually go so far as to say lame.
I would go with you on that one.
Yeah.
You don't like the HUD on your windshield?
Yeah, no. Lame. Other than that, though, I enjoy it. It sounds like 3 out of 4 stars.
Yeah. I mean, I give it a
fair rating for the movie.
I give it a 6.
Okay. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay.
It's not a complete flop.
Yeah, 6 out of 4 stars.
6 out of 4 stars. Oh. It's one that I enjoy, and we'll do this for every episode or for everyone. Callie enjoyed this movie.
Wow.
Yeah, Callie enjoyed this movie. Hey, speaking of movies that I love, this is probably going to be the shortest discussion of any movie that we will have today. It is The Fountain.
Well, we might need to delve in a little bit just so you can explain to me what the fuck was going on with outer space stuff.
If you have not consumed The Fountain, stop the episode right now and go consume The Fountain. I'll wait. Welcome back.
Sorry for wasting 90 minutes of your life.
We are split right down the middle on this one. Scott and I, the Badeaux, really enjoy the movie The Fountain. So, Scott, I'm going to give you a moment to say your praise first.
I will say that seeing this movie as a 19-year-old kid blew my mind.
Yep.
So if you're a 19-year-old kid, go ahead and watch it. You'll love it. If you're a 40-year-old man, you're probably going to be like, "What the fuck's going on?"
If you you were
Fair.
You were
I'll take 40, by the way. Yeah.
You were 19, so what was I? 24.
Yeah.
This movie blew my mind as well. So 2 things. One, I'm a Darren Aronofsky fan.
Right. Well, that's a little bit of fanboyism.
A little bit.
Because Darren Aronofsky was the shit.
Yes. Ass to ass.
Ass to ass, baby.
That's all you got to say. This is a film
That's
has...
from Requiem for a Dream, Gabe.
You've never seen Requiem for a Dream? Yeah. Well, I think it's only in the unedited version.
Probably.
I'm pretty sure it is in the only. You can folks. You can imagine what ass to ass means potentially.
use your imagination.
Use your imagination.
So anyway, in this movie, there's a guy who does brain surgery on monkeys.
Yes.
And his wife's dying of cancer.
Dying of cancer.
And he's also a conquistador fighting Mayans to protect the queen, which is also his wife.
Yes.
And
Also
a bald space traveler guy
Yeah.
eating from the tree of life.
Eating from the Tree of Life. So this is a film that has 3 time periods, and they are all playing congruently as you go. Pieces happen.
You never know when you're going to be next scene. You never know.
You don't know where you're going to be in the next scene, but you do know where you are. So that is the one thing I will say is there visually you know which time period you're
Yes,
in.
ancient
give you
Maya
cues.
and today.
Yes.
They look very different.
There's a later there's a film later on, maybe potentially the last film we'll talk about, where you don't necessarily know where you are in the 3 potential areas. I will say that what I like about this film is one, it's a very Eastern philosophy type of scenario. Probably why the Badeaux like it, because we are obsessed with Japanese role-playing games, and a lot of the concepts from this are replayed in those types of games. This is something that we have been conditioned to enjoy.
I'm sorry.
Very well acted.
very well acted.
Very well
I
acted.
mentioned at the pizzeria to
Yes.
a regular that comes in that Hugh Jackman's performance in one particular scene in this movie is one of the best examples of acting prowess.
Is it
I've
when his
ever
wife
seen in my
dies?
life. It's when he's just like, he just says no a bunch. No. But it's like, you could really feel the emotion in it. And that particular scene has always stuck with me.
I will say Hugh Jackman did a great job in this movie.
He's fantastic in basically everything he does.
Yeah, well, you should go back and watch him in Swordfish.
Yeah.
Best hacking scene of any movie of all time. You love it.
Fun fact, $35 million budget. It originally was owned by somebody else, had a $70 million budget.
75.
Brad Pitt. They went and wasted a couple of years in Australia, and the people funding it were like, what the fuck are you guys doing? This is canceled.
Playtime's over, guys.
Done.
So Gabe says the story as such, but Darren Aronofsky got this film in 2002. It was greenlit with Brad Pitt and Cate Blanchett in the 2 roles. And it was a $75 million budget. They were in Australia. They had built all of the Mayan sets. So if you can imagine, like in this film, what the Mayan sets look like, this is the $75 million version of that. They had built them all. And then Brad Pitt and Darren Aronofsky had creative differences. And Brad Pitt left the film and went and made Troy.
And I'm guessing the executive producers probably took a look at what they were doing and said, what?
Well, here's what happens. You get greenlit because you have Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
And there's $75 million is a large budget.
But $75 million, if we got Brad Pitt, he's going to get you 75.
We're going to
Yeah,
get 75.
You're going to break even at worst.
Yeah. He leaves, and they just pull the plug, completely pull the plug. So this movie then gets retooled and scaled down, and then the version that you're seeing is a smaller version of
Filmed
the
in
same
a
thing.
sound studio in Canada.
With a new actor that's twice as good as the old actor.
That's the funny thing is that you upgraded in terms of actor. So the lady that plays Izzy, what is her name?
Rachel Weisz.
Sorry,
yeah,
ladies,
yeah,
but
yeah.
Hugh Jackman's a far better actor.
She's all right. She was also in The Constant Gardener.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
And The Mummy.
And The Mummy. Yeah, she's great in The Mummy for what that role is. She was okay in this
She
film.
was great in this. Her job was to die of cancer, and
She did good. Yeah. I believed it.
she was dead by the end of the movie.
All right, so let's just break this down super fast. This film is she's dying of cancer. He's trying to find a cure that will cure his wife so she doesn't die of cancer. Meanwhile, she's writing a book about a conquistador looking for the fountain of youth. The hook. There you go. The end of the film, the space portion of the film, is him then traveling to a distant dying star in order to have him and his wife be reborn. His wife is now the tree of life. he has been consuming the tree of life on his journey in order to get to the dying star and be reborn back onto whatever that is.
Yeah, I'm going to stop you there. This sounds like a bad movie.
Here's the thing I love the most about this film.
Oh, is that what he planted on a gravestone at the end? Is what the space guy was?
Yes,
riding with?
he is
Yeah.
the space guy, and
Yeah.
he's traveling to the star to try and again save his
Which,
wife.
if you're into that kind of thing,
Yeah.
there's like there's a little tie into that. If you're into like space travel and how time is bent when they brought all that together, that's kind of how the whole thing mechanically works. Which I got to the end, I'm like, okay, I can see how this actually all works mechanically with time travel and all that. And so if you're into that,
that is where it scratched an itch for me. In that, what I want the afterlife to be is just slowly traversing through the cosmos for eternity. Just me with a wide screen in front of me, just checking out where things go.
What I want my afterlife to be is finding the fountain of youth, then consuming its sap, and then being consumed by plants.
Yeah. Okay.
I just want to sleep.
Anyways,
Which also happens in the movie.
yes, then this is right up your alley. Kevin, a lot of people want to get to heaven with their loved ones. I couldn't want to be further away from fucking everybody. I want to be in space, continuing to move away from everyone else, just being blown away for eternity.
I just want a good night's sleep for once.
I like that. I like that.
Yeah, no, I just want to become the fountain.
Yes, sure. Okay.
Visual. One thing to speak though.
Yes.
Great visual effects.
Okay. Do you want to know how they did that?
Educate me, please.
So this is why I love this film, because of the process to get to where they were in the reduction of the budget. The space scenes in particular are really cool. It is chemical reactions in petri dishes.
Because that's where they saved money on the reduced budget, was the outer space scenes.
So the outer space stuff is just it's the tree in a stage, right? So it's his bubble that he's on in a stage. And then the stuff around it is just chemical reactions in a petri dish. And it's fascinating because it looks like if you were to go into space, like what kind of things would be happening. And it's just various different chemical reactions creating these cascading effects. And it's fascinating. I think it is gorgeous.
All organic. So it's all tying together.
It's all organic. So that to me, sadly, having known it before I watched the film, my eyes were like just dripping with like, this is fucking incredible. I love the way this film looks.
I didn't get that. How about you, Gabe? I didn't get the...
Did not think anything was incredible. I thought the outer space stuff looked kind of neat, but I still never understood what the hell was going on.
There you go. That's where I was at. I'm like,
right.
we just talked about this last night. I said, I don't say this about very many films.
Yeah.
I just don't get it.
Okay. I'm okay with that. Here's why this is a glorious film. Dave Badeaux loves crescendos. This is a film that is nothing but crescendo. You build. It just keeps going. At the end, fucking 45 minutes worth of shit happens in a minute and a half, and then it is done. Credits, move on. Dave loves that stuff. Scott, final take.
It's a great movie.
Yes.
It's a visual experience.
There you go.
You wouldn't know so based off of its 2 out of 4 stars today here on the podcast. We can move on from it.
How did Callie feel about it?
Oh, yeah.
No, I don't remember. We didn't watch this one in particular because I didn't want to listen to her tell me that she didn't like it.
So you know it's 1.5 out of 4.
Denial's a gift. Dave.
Denial. All right, folks, let's move on. The next film on our list, the first of the Kevin Yeager selections, we have Zodiac.
Oh, awesome. Well, I just threw this one out here when we were talking about the era. This is a film that I've probably seen at least 50 times. I don't know why. I just put it. It's like a background noise film for me, and I have a lot of those. But it's one that I just put on, and I can just listen to it. Part of it is the score, right? The music is great. It's from that era. I could listen to it. For me, it's got a couple great actors in there. There's some great storytelling, but the real catch for me is the Zodiac.
Yeah.
Which completely gained the attention of everyone in California for a certain amount of time, and across the country in a certain amount of time. But what a zany story the Zodiac and the Zodiac Killer continues to be. And there's obviously tons and tons of documentaries out there which are entertaining to watch. Netflix is churning out killer documentaries about once a day right now, and most of them are good. And there's a few on the Zodiac Killer, but this one being put into movie form, I just thought was good. Is it like a 10 out of 10 movie? No, probably not, but it's entertaining. And it's a story about the zany killer.
So this is an interesting one because it is David Fincher.
Yep.
Of Seven fame.
Oh, what's in the box?
Doesn't quite feel that like dirty, grimy, but still has the appropriate level of 70s grit to it.
California grit, not New York grit.
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it.
Excellent.
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it. The Zodiac is such an interesting subject matter.
Yeah.
I think serial killers in general are interesting subject matter, but somebody that actually sent clues in to try and have you figure out, what was going on. And then to have some of them still have never been solved. And one of them was solved during COVID in 2020 because people had too much time on their hands and finally solved it.
I'm just going to go figure out who the Zodiac is.
That's literally what happened. Yeah. Now it sounds like, that was, a mom and a pop figuring it out, which is how the first one was. The very first one they deciphered was a guy and his wife in their living room or whatever. School teachers figured out the first one.
Yep.
This other one went, 50 years almost?
Yep.
And then here we still have at least one that has never been deciphered.
Correct.
Which partially makes me think that it's just not very good.
Maybe.
Could be that it's not, because he spells things wrong. Maybe intentionally.
Maybe intentionally.
One of
the fascinating aspects.
We need all three to put them together to see what it's saying.
Yes. Yeah. Also true. Also true.
Like the Zodiac, here's the thing about the Zodiac. This guy, this serial killer, basically did everything you're not supposed to do if you ever want to not get caught, right? And they still have not figured this guy out, who it is, for sure. They don't know. He wrote to the police. He sent letters to the police. He called the police potentially right on the phone, spoke to them. He
called into a TV show.
Yes, he took evidence, kept evidence, and then sent it back to the police. He did a lot of things that you would think would make it super easy to catch this guy by now, but and there's a lot of conflicting information out there about whether or not he did certain things that this film portrays that he did do or didn't do. But at the end of the day, we still really don't know who it is. And spoiler, Arthur Lee Allen, whom they are quite certain they do have the correct DNA for the Zodiac Killer, was tested against Arthur Lee Allen. Not a match.
Yeah. Yeah, so the person they in this film point towards, DNA said no.
And pretty much everybody who knows even a little bit about the Zodiac would look at all of the evidence and say, it's Arthur Lee Allen. It's overwhelming circumstantial evidence.
He was there for every
point. He knew one of the victims. They know that for sure.
And then was gone for a period of time. He was in prison for a period of time when, which is typically, because isn't that how they found the guy that killed Jacob Weatherling? Isn't that how they found him?
They aligned timelines.
Aligned timelines, yeah.
Well, fun fact.
Yes.
United States Senator from Texas.
Ted Cruz?
Ted Cruz is the Zodiac Killer.
Done.
Makes sense.
People started calling him that years ago, and he's just owned it. So he posts like Zodiac symbols and stuff on social media.
That's a little fucking weird, but okay.
He has fun with it.
What in the hell was that all about?
This is a film that I enjoyed. It is too long. And I have been on record as saying multiple times, films are 2 hours long. That's what you got. Get it figured out. I'll give you 15 minutes to wrap up if you need it. This is 2 hours and 37 minutes. That's 2 films.
I'm looking here. It's 2:37, but the director's cut is 2:42.
Of course it is.
He only had 5 minutes.
Of course it is.
The 5 minutes.
The director's cut.
I would really like to put this one scene back in the film. My problem with this, in it being 2 films, it really is 2 films as well. There is the Robert Downey Jr. side of this film, which I just happen to be really into Robert Downey Jr. And then there is the Jake Gyllenhaal part of this film.
Sure.
the Jake Gyllenhaal part is good, but the Robert Downey Jr. stuff, I wish there would have been. And it is the problem with doing historical stuff.
Yep.
Is eventually the guy falls off, and I struggle with you've invested so much into these characters, into the beats, and then now they're just gone.
Now you have a new main character.
Yeah.
And then halfway through your movie, there's a new main character.
And his role in that is not well defined in the beginning. So like you should have pushed him more in instead of him just being an annoying desk jockey nerd. He should have been inserted a little bit more so that when we get to that point, there's more of a buy-in into now we're on Jake Gyllenhaal's story. Still good, but I found myself going, I really like the first half of this film a lot better than I like the second half of this film, except for when he starts getting really close. Then they do some really...
It ramps up at the end.
It ramps up quite a bit at the end.
Yep.
Do you want to know how Callie felt about this film?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
This is one of my favorite experiences that I've had in a very long time. So this film starts, and at some point, a young couple drives to Lover's Lane, and they park. And then a man comes, and he shoots them. And then he phones, I believe, the police, and says that there are 2 bodies out on Lover's Lane. I killed them. I also killed those kids last year. And Callie turns to me and said, how did he kill them last year if he just killed them now? And I looked at her and I said, what? And she said, how did he kill them twice? We just watched him kill them now. How did he also kill them
Did
last
he bring
summer?
them back to life?
And I stared at her for a solid 3 minutes, waiting for it to click. And then she said, I don't get it, Dave. How did he kill them twice? How did he kill them twice? I started laughing so hard that tears were running down my face, and she got so mad that she got up and left and went to bed.
Has she figured it out?
She's still mad at me.
Are you stupid or something?
Gabe, you would also love a poignant part of this film where the one guy looks at him and says, does it bother you that they call you retard? It's just out of nowhere.
Nobody calls me that.
Out of the blue. Just out of the blue. That was another big laugh for me where I was just like, how odd and out of place is this comment right now?
I'm going to start asking people that.
Yeah. Does it bother you? Does it bother you?
Does it bother you that everybody calls you retard?
They don't say that, do they? Yeah.
There was a kid I worked with years ago, and it was like his first day working with me. And we were just like getting to know each other. And he told me that, he goes, one of my biggest pet peeves is when people call me retarded. And I thought, how often do people call you retarded that it's become a pet peeve of yours?
I don't even own a gun, let alone many guns that would necessitate an entire rack.
Sir, it is your number one pet peeve above all else. Interesting.
Yeah.
Gabe, thoughts on this wonderful film?
Didn't watch it in the last few weeks. Watched it 20 years ago.
Okay.
I remember really enjoying it. I didn't remember it being so long because I just thought it was a good, fun caper, crime hunt movie. And I also love serial killers of all kinds.
Yeah, I think the Zodiac is potentially one of the more interesting serial killers.
Yes, for sure. For sure, the story around him, even if it's not him, it's the whole police and the that whole surrounding story that ties into it's a fascinating part.
It's also interesting when you watch this film to then be aware of how far we've come on just the idea that police in one town speak to the police in the other town. Mm-hmm. Half of the problem with this is that they can't get any of the evidence and stuff because of the jurisdictions and not working with each other. And that goes again to the Jacob Weatherling stuff. The whole reason why they couldn't figure that out is because one town over, they weren't talking to this other town to say, hey, we had something weird go on here as well. Because that's potentially most likely the case.
Yeah, there's a scene in this movie where it says, we'll send it over to you. And he says, we don't have a fax.
Yeah.
That tells you right there, kind of what you're dealing with.
Yeah. Yeah, very cool film. I really enjoy it. Jake Gyllenhaal does a great job. It's an interesting showcase of what would happen if you became overly obsessed with something of this nature.
Yeah.
You know, which he does. And again, just second half needs a little bit more Robert Downey Jr. A little bit more.
You know, Robert Downey Jr. and Jake Gyllenhaal have been known to make some great movies together. They were in Tropic Thunder together.
Oh, Tropic Thunder. Yeah, you're right.
Jake Gyllenhaal's not in Tropic Thunder.
Yeah.
No.
He's one of the priests.
No, that's Tobey Maguire.
Oh, Tobey Maguire. Damn it. So close.
The same guy.
Same guy?
The
Same guy.
The same guy. The same guy. Scott, final take.
Good.
Good. Okay, hold on. Zodiac. How many stars? I say good.
I say great. It's entertaining. It's not artistic. It's not, it's not like some of the next couple films we're going to talk about, but it's entertaining. It's a good watch. It's a good flick.
It's a long movie, but it keeps you engaged.
Yeah, you don't need brain power to watch it or enjoy it. You can just sit down and be entertained for 2 hours and 37 minutes.
I think we're going to say 3 out of 4 then.
3 out of, you're going to go with a no?
No, I think it's good. Good, great.
Good, great. That's 4 out of 4 stars.
That's 4 out of 4.
Listen, folks, 4 out of 4 stars, for the film Zodiac. It's a must watch. I will say that. It isn't the greatest film that's ever been made, but you can't go wrong with it. I don't think there's a possible way to get to the end of this and be like, God, I really did not like that. Unless, of course, you only make it through the first murder and then have to go to bed because you're so mad that you yourself may be retarded.
Wow. Okay. I will say that the cast, every new scene with a new character, I was like, I know that guy.
Yeah.
I know that guy. Yeah. That guy's from this. Okay, I was in the Drew Carey show.
Fantastic. All right, let's move on to another one that for some reason in my head are very tied together and really have nothing to do with one another at all. But for some reason, the two have been placed in a similar spot in my filing cabinet of movies in my brain. This is Munich. Kevin, I'm going to let you start with this one as well. This is another Kevin Yeager, Bring It to the Party selection.
Yeah, I just threw this one out there. This is one of the movies that kind of stuck out in my mind that I remember kind of from this era and really enjoyed. Probably a little on the longer side, but the basic premise of this is the Olympic murders that happened where the Jewish athletes were killed and all of what ensues following that. It's a politically charged movie. This is a Steven Spielberg work. Yes. And that right there should earn a lot of potential viewers just in what it is and meant at the time. I'm old enough that I can remember at least when people were talking about the newscast and the broadcast when the athletes were killed, and so I'm old enough to say that I actually remember some of that dialogue back then. But it's quite a ride. It's a gritty, dirty film, I guess is how I would describe it. Moves along at a nice pace. But it's a politically charged film, and I think that ultimately at the end of it, I find that the story is really about two sides of the world, two factions of the world, two belief systems of the world that both think that they're right and are both feel like they are perfectly entitled to kill the other. And it is a generational belief system, and that I think is what the storytelling is here. Is that hatred is a generational, passed down from generation to generation system of belief, and both sides think they're right, and both sides seem to have no problem at all killing the other side. And so that's a basic summary of it. This is another film where you watch it and you'll be like, hey, I know that guy. I know that guy. I know that guy. And I know that guy.
That's James Bond.
Yeah, exactly. And here's my interesting tidbit or fun fact for this film. It is, I read a little something that said that the casting director for Munich saw the audition of what would be of Daniel Craig and called somebody who was working on potentially the James Bond film and said, hey, you gotta come look at this guy. And so the connection between James Bond and Daniel Craig allegedly formed during Munich. So,
yeah, I was surprised as well that when Daniel Craig shows up on screen, I was like, how did I not remember that Daniel Craig was in this? Because he plays a predominant role in the film. And I had completely forgotten that was the case. So Casino Royale is 2006.
Yep. This is 5, I think.
This is 05. Yep. So very interesting. Your analysis of the basic concepts of the film are pretty interesting in that I was surprised that Steven Spielberg took the direction that he did with this. I thought, famously, Steven Spielberg is Jewish. So it's a film about, shocker, I know. But it's a film about Israel and Palestine.
Yep.
Right? The Palestinians abduct and kill Israeli athletes, which is a wild concept when you think about it like from today's day and age. Can you imagine if 9 athletes from America were murdered?
Have you seen what's going on over there?
Well, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, can you imagine if Canada came to the Olympics and killed 9 American athletes? People would lose their fucking minds, right?
Publicly, they did that. It was an abduction.
Yes.
This was a public killing.
And it was a hostage situation.
Hostage
they didn't kill until
situation.
they got on the planes or the.
Yep.
Yeah, and a political statement being made and then ending up in that mindset. But the way he does the film is really interesting because he doesn't take a side on it.
Correct,
He actually there's in the DVD version that I have, it starts with would you like to hear a foreword by director Steven Spielberg? And
Yeah,
then
you go to press play, and it's like, well, you could play the movie, or you could listen to Spielberg talk about it for a second.
I hit play.
Can I? Where's the back button? How about
I went back to the menu
Yeah.
to hit play again.
how about
I pressed play.
Yes. You know what I would enjoy? How about instead of the credits, you put the Spielberg part at the end
Sure.
after I've consumed the product?
Yeah.
Let me then. But a part of the reason I think he did that is to protect himself, because if you actually watch what he talks about in that, he is saying, this is not me attacking Israel. You know, like he's doing what a good filmmaker should do, which is present the information and let you understand that none of this is positive.
I'm guessing he attached that to the DVD.
Yes.
Because he caught a lot of heck when it came out because it played both sides or neither
Yes.
side, right? Like, here's a story.
And I was
Anti-Semite.
Well, that's just it. I was super surprised by it because part of the reason I remember really enjoying it, but then I was like, okay, looking back from where we are now, right? Because right now it's pretty heated over there, and
Right now.
well, it's heated again, but it's heated in a way where I think people are at least understanding that neither side is completely innocent in this. But murder is murder. Murder is
Palestinians
murder.
are looking pretty innocent right about it.
Murder is murder. See, I'm not going to go that route because murder is murder, right? I was concerned starting this, knowing that it was Spielberg, but I was like, I don't want this to be like waving a flag and saying like, one or the other, because what happens is a tragedy to begin with, and then where you go from there ruins lives on all sides. And it's an excellent watch. And by the end, you are fully aware that nobody comes out looking good or feeling good about where the end of this stuff goes.
Yeah, I loved the part when they were in the safe house. And they were in there, and the Palestinians were in there, and they overlapped by a day. Right?
Yes.
This is a safe house. We're just not gonna.
Yes.
But then they were out in the hallway, and he had the conversation with the guy, and they're gonna.
We end up killing each other, but
Yeah, but they have the conversation, and that's when he kind of understands that we're just going to continue to breed hate generationally, and both sides are equally feel they are in the right.
Yep.
And there's no
Yes.
way you're going to convince them that somehow they are wrong,
Yep.
and that
Yes.
they don't have a right to be there.
Yep.
So it's interesting, and then that part goes into the end when he refuses to come back to Israel.
Yes.
He's just going to stay in New York, and he says, every single one of the people we killed brought somebody else into place who was even worse.
Yes.
And if we continue to do that, it'll continue to escalate and get worse and worse. They go their separate ways. Camera pans. World Trade Center in the background.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't catch that.
When the credits are rolling, it's a shot of the World Trade Center from across the East River.
I didn't catch that. That's very, very clever of Spielberg.
Yeah.
You say that about the safe house scene. I would say that the most unnecessary part of this entire film is the radio. That whole radio scene pissed me off because it's so unnecessary.
They can all get down.
Bullshit. Just stop. Just stop.
To that Detroit sound.
Because then the very next scene does everything that you were trying to do in that scene in a way that is actually poignant and interesting, right? You're having a conversation between two people that really do want to kill each other and probably will end up killing each other. Spoiler, do. But you're trapped in a scenario, right? And this, with the radio, you're trying to like make light of the situation, but yet I just found it annoying and stupid and a waste of my time. You cut that entirely out of the movie. That would be your 5 minutes that you can put back in your director's cut.
Yep. And I will say, going back to the time, I watched this last week in the afternoon. It was 1 o'clock. Okay, my boys are gonna be home from school in about 3. I'm gonna go put a movie in, watch this movie because it's a movie. So I've got 2 hours.
2 hours.
When the kids get home, it's like, what the hell? There's 45 minutes left.
There's still half of a movie left.
So I had to finish it the next day.
And if they just would have got rid of that damn scene, we would have been fine. I absolutely love it. I will say that like Spielberg is interesting for me because he's a great director, fantastic producer, right? If his name's attached to things, you usually know that it's going to be of high quality. I don't always love his films, but a lot of them are tentpole, highest films, highest quality of films that
he's a great storyteller. He finds a way to, in pretty much every one of his films to craft an engaging story.
Yep, and that's what's great about this is, and again, the stuff that he talks about before the film, which also makes it another, 5 minutes added to too long. But he says, we know 3 things. We know that there was the kidnapping and the murder of the athletes. We know that Israel retaliated, and we know that they killed some of these operatives. Beyond that, this is a story, and we are telling a story. And I really appreciate that because when you try to get caught into the minutia of details, you lose the fact that you have to produce an actual product that is consumable. Right. And that's what he does so well. He takes that, much like Saving Private Ryan, he takes those pieces, puts them in place, but then weaves the story between them so that you get an actual cohesive film out of the entire thing. And that was why I enjoyed it the most.
Right.
Yeah.
So one of the things I think is very interesting about the movie is this guy's off overseas. He's killing people with families and daughters, and at the same time, the juxtaposition is he is at home with a pregnant wife, goes through the birthing of his child, and so you have these two completely kind of opposite mindsets, which in his mind make perfect sense, playing out, and I'm sure the opposite side is doing the exact same thing. So. And another thing about Steven Spielberg, he's not afraid of the blood and gore.
This is a
very violent film.
I was very surprised at a couple of the scenes.
And we see that in other parts of Spielberg's work where he's not necessarily afraid of some blood and guts at times.
Yeah, you don't really think about it.
Yeah, you don't think about
with
it
him, but then you go back and you're like, oh, yeah.
I audibly gasped. The first guy that gets shot, I audibly gasped, and my son had just left the room, and he's like, "What? Aren't you watching a Spielberg film?" And I was like, "Yes, I am," and I just gasped. I was like, "Oh wow, Jesus, okay."
Yeah,
and
whole new level. Boom. When that happens, that movie just goes click, click, click.
Yeah.
Right?
And he doesn't wait to do it either.
Nope.
He lets you know early. This is within the first 15 minutes. This is in the setup. You are aware. Okay, this film is going to go places that you need to be comfortable with if you're going to continue.
For sure.
Yeah, it is very bloody. I was surprised at how bloody it was.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
A movie about assassinations.
Yeah, but
but Spielberg.
You could do it where debris falls out the window, which happens later on, right?
Or the camera just pans to the side and you hear gunshots.
Yes.
Whereas in this one, the camera pans to the side, you hear gunshots, and then you see all the blood splatter and the bullet holes into the wall behind him. And you're like, what the fuck?
And they keep going. It's like, okay, we got it.
Yeah.
Blood. And then it's like, oh, more blood. Oh, more blood. Oh, wow.
How is he still standing?
A fantastic film. Again, remember loving it at the time, and then it's always fun to because it's 20 years old now, to go back with a different lens and look at it, and then still have an enjoyable experience with it. Very well done film. Not rated as high as I would have thought. It is on IMDb a 7.5.
What do they know?
Yeah, I would have thought this
20 years ago, that was a great score. On IMDb.
Before we figured out how to game it.
Yeah.
What does Minecraft have? What's the score of Minecraft?
The tomato meter is like 46%. The audience meter is like 98%.
It turns out the critics don't love it. A 6.0 on IMDb currently.
That's only 1 point underneath Munich. Come on.
1.5.
Yeah, 1.2. 0.2 is a big deal in the IMDb world.
I will say I'm a bit of a retard. I like
okay,
when
let's
I'm
calm
watching,
down on it.
I like when I'm watching movies, they tell me where they are.
Yeah.
Are they in Beirut? Are they in Paris? Are they in
And this
London?
one jumps around a little bit.
This one jumps around.
Yeah.
They're traveling all over Europe. And I'm like, where the hell are they? And it's like, maybe it doesn't matter, but I want to know. And you could just put a little date line at the bottom.
Yeah,
It
you
really,
need a
it really helped me.
There's a little
Roland
Bond
Emmerich.
feel in this, I was also going to say.
It is definitely jet setting. You had said that to me prior to me rewatching it, and so I went in with that preconceived notion and then left thinking, yeah, Gabe's kind of a retard.
Because the ones when they go to Paris, that's the Eiffel Tower.
I figured out where we are.
The Brooklyn Bridge, the Statue of Liberty.
Anything Carmen Sandiego stole, I can identify.
You're right. I couldn't identify what in Beirut I was supposed to
Or
know.
a houseboat in the Netherlands.
Well, part of it though was that there are parts where I think you're not supposed. It's supposed to be that we're just going around and you're not really supposed to know exactly what's because again, the story isn't necessarily this is exactly what happened. It is this is what happened. And so the individual killings and who it is, I'm actually surprised that they were going through a list of names. That I found surprising because I think they were like, these are the ones that died, so he was able to use those.
Right.
But it is interesting to me that given the entire story, that the names aren't really that important, other than you didn't get the one you wanted.
Yep.
Until 1979.
Yeah.
You love that.
No, don't. Don't love it at all, ever, at all. Biggest pet peeve, Kevin, in film is when you get to the end and then it tells me, here's what also happened. It drives me nuts, which I'll give it a pass because it is technically historical. It did this in Zodiac as well.
Right.
Which, again, it is historical. Okay, did you catch him? Did you not catch him? I need the film is a story. There's a point where you got to cut it, right? In fictional films, if you do this,
Grew up to marry Wendy Peppercorn.
and you tell me what the hell happened after your film is done, instant 0.2. Yeah,
American Graffiti.
Okay, well we'll talk
gonna
about
talk about
that. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that. But yeah, let's finish it up on this one. A really good film.
It's a good movie.
Really, really good film.
And pretty timeless, I'd say.
Absolutely.
This could come out today and
I think so.
engage audiences.
Yeah, absolutely. Is that a yes, and a yes?
For me.
Ladies and gentlemen, another 4-star, the same score as Zodiac. Munich and Zodiac, like I said, in my head, the same
Oh, that's why you were fighting for the 4 out of 4. 3 of us were, yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, it's a bit, Gabe. It's a bit. It's a bit. Last film on our selection here today. This is an interesting one and a tough one, and I honestly think that Kevin and I could talk about this film for an entire episode. We will try not to ruin your day with Mulholland Drive.
Well, the good news is we can't really give you a spoiler because
She kills herself.
Because
And is that a
nothing makes
spoiler?
any
You really
sense
don't
at
know.
all.
Yes. Right off the bat, David Lynch.
Yes.
Yeah.
This guy has a craft. This guy has a
Screw loose.
yes. He is just unbelievable mind when it comes to making moves. At least that's my position on it. Anyways, the basic premise. It's hard to even summarize what this is. This is a film that is episodic in nature. It brings you down a path, even though you don't necessarily know what the path is, you can kind of start to see some parts and pieces coming together. But essentially, in its simplest form, there is a young woman who's involved in a car wreck. She has some amnesia. There's some other characters that have some stuff going on. Again, episodic. So for quite some time, the storylines really seem to have no connection to the other storylines, which you think is going to happen, but it really doesn't.
Vague references.
Very vague references it does, or this film has. So it's one of those where I can't really tell you what it's about. You just kind of got to watch it is the best way I can describe that. In America, we don't have a lot of what I would consider to be surrealist style films. That's just not what we do in America. We don't have a lot of directors that have kind of taken that path. We've got some that nibble around the edges. Surrealism in filmmaking is mostly foreign films. We see a lot of it over there. A lot of the Japanese, the anime stuff goes that direction. But this one, to me, is really right in that genre of a true surrealist film. To me, that definition of surrealist is like most films, there's a plot, the characters are established early on, and there's some foreshadowing so that the payoff comes at the end and you're engaged and there's this big payoff and everybody's happy, they go home happy. The engagement in surrealism is you really don't know what is happening. And I find myself just the entire time on the edge of my seat trying to struggle to because I feel like I'm behind. And it's intended to be that way because to me, surrealism in films or that dreamlike sense in films is intended to allow the watcher to just overlay what they think. It's interpretation. It's interpretive.
Their experience.
Yep.
I asked ChatGPT to tell me about this movie,
Yes.
and the main takeaway I got from it was that it is intentionally ambiguous.
Yes.
David Lynch refuses to explain his films.
To this day?
Well, he has now passed away very recently, the last couple of months. But yeah, he refuses to explain his films. And he says that ruins the art of the film. The film experience and the watching of it and the consuming it based off of your own thought process, emotions, and past history is what the film is to him. It's not just you sitting in a theater watching it, it's you being transported into a world and then using your own self to then project back onto the film. It's fucking weird.
It is.
It's weird. I went to film school. This is one of those films that had just come out because this was 2001. So I'm in film school, 2003, 2004. This is one that, you couldn't say like, oh, this is a classic at that point because it had just come out. But this is one that was right up the wheelhouse of all those people that are struggling, want to be filmmakers that are now teaching at 7:00 at night in downtown Minneapolis. So it was one of those where they're like, you need to consume this. So the first time I watched it, I was like, I have no idea what just happened. I have zero concept as to where we went. I have a vague idea of the events that happened and the reciprocal nature of them, right? Because it is a film, it is a snake that eats itself.
Yep.
But I was intrigued. So then I watched it again. And then I had a vague idea of what I thought. Okay. So that's 20 years ago, 22 years ago. I watched this film at night with Callie. Callie's thought on the film was, I have no idea what happened in that entire film. So that was her.
I feel like that's her take
takeaway.
on most movies, like Pirates of the Caribbean.
That's her take on that's her take on dinner.
On life.
Yeah. What did we just do? We had dinner, Callie. Good night. I'm sorry. We're laying it on thick today. But she went to bed. I do what I do. And I told Kevin this the next day, screw you. Because you put me into that mode, then it's like, okay, now my brain is not going to shut off until I have consumed this. At about 2/3 of the way through the film, about the point where the coffee starts to come into play, is when I then was like, okay, now I remember where I was with this film before. Because I didn't remember a lot about it. I remember there was the two girls, that there was question about what is what, and that I remembered there was like a murder in my head is what I remembered.
It was an assassination.
And sure. But I couldn't remember exactly what the pieces were. And partially because what are the pieces, right?
Yeah.
What are the pieces? And so reconsuming it, then I watched it the second time and I have a take on it. And I am surprised to find out that there are other people on the internet that also have this take from this film as well. But let's go through it. Gabe, thought on where were you with the 20-minute clip that you watched on the internet that told you about this film?
Yeah, I Googled or YouTubed, explain Mulholland Drive.
Yes.
And I clicked the top video. 20 minutes, they explained it to me. I think it's pretty straightforward.
Okay, let's hear the straightforward take.
Okay, so blonde actress.
Yes.
Jealous brunette actress. Hires hitman. Kills brunette actress.
The brunette actress hires a hitman.
The
to kill her.
blonde
hires a hitman to kill the brunette.
Yes.
Okay.
The blonde like takes a nap or something. And then in her dream, she's trying to justify or replay everything as if it didn't happen and she wasn't responsible for having killed somebody.
Sure.
So she's trying to make the hitman was kind of a bumbling fool in her dream and he was messing up a different hit. So maybe she didn't actually kill my enemy. And then she wakes up and the cowboy's standing there and she reaches in her side of her bed and shoots herself in the head. Movie over.
Sure. So she is wrought with guilt and kills herself after having
After a nap. After having a nap.
Yep.
That's the implication, that it's guilt.
Yes, yes.
There's other takes on whether it was
But
guilt
she may
or
have been
not.
going insane with all the people she saw in her
Exactly.
bedroom.
There you go.
Yes.
That is the surface take of this film. David,
Simple bitch.
oh, that is, you can't even say simple bitch because it takes a lot just to get to that. It
does.
This is not a like, hey, I watched that
It's a
and
hard-
I can
yeah.
explain this to you. It's like you get it done and you're like, okay, well, let me just. And to Kelly's credit, we sat there and talked for 10 minutes where she was trying to process what.
Well, that's good. That's a
just
good
happened.
sign.
Yeah.
What the hell was that?
There's life after all. This is one of those that is interesting in that it is Kubrick-esque in that he's doing things in scenes that are specifically telling you things that are not being told.
Yep.
The problem I have with David Lynch, and this is why I've always had a problem with David Lynch, is he goes the surrealist route. And so therefore there's always a confusion and ambiguity about it. But he's sloppy in the way that he does
That's what I would describe also as he's a sloppy Kubrick a little bit. So both dabble around in that surrealism.
Yep.
Kubrick is, and great you brought it up, but Kubrick is really into visual imagery.
Yes.
When you watch his films, every single shot looks like it took an entire day to get exactly right.
Because
Whether it's a
every
shot
element.
every single element is tight, it's crisp.
Every frame a painting.
Every
Yes.
frame of painting,
Yes.
if there is any continuity, it was there intentionally.
Yes.
Even if it wasn't, you think it is because he's so. This guy is just sending you on a bit of a loosey goosey.
Yeah.
This is a Jackson Pollock painting.
Yes. Where's
Is
Waldo?
how I would describe it.
Yes.
It means something different to everyone who's watching it. He just gives you the rough framework to take you down a journey and says, "Oh, have fun. We'll see you at the end."
Yeah, and the problem with that is that he does include these elements. If you watch the film, there are, and this is the problem I have because I'm always so hyper focused on the backgrounds, and maybe that's based off of like going to film school and then like literally. Okay, Citizen Kane, I can't stand Citizen Kane. You want to know why I can't stand Citizen Kane? The first time I experienced it was in a classroom over like 3 different days. Them pausing every single frame and talking about what was going on. This is why they did this. And here's the, like the shadows are cast. And it's incredible the way that film is put together. I experienced it in the worst possible way. It is like going on a roller coaster that has breaks every 3 feet. It's like, yeah, I bet that's a great hill. I bet that hill was great when somebody experienced it. I experienced it 1 inch at a goddamn time.
You don't want a fish sandwich?
But my ADD causes me to watch things that are happening in the background. And what you catch with him is there's these pieces that he puts there. It's flowers are a big deal.
Yep.
So there's flowers and there's colors.
The colors is what I notice a lot.
Yeah,
and sound. And we'll talk a little bit about
sound.
that.
Yeah, the colors delineate particular characters and what they are. But the problem with him is that he isn't consistent in it, and he doesn't.
Sloppy.
He's sloppy. So if blue means this, there can be no other blue in any scene other than the ones that have the blue in it. So when the dumpster in the background is blue, you dummy, you can't have that.
Maybe that's what the key unlocks.
Well, it's maybe the dumpster, probably.
We think, yeah.
We think.
Well, that's one interpretation.
Yeah. So the cool thing about this, and I sent this to you guys as well, is that in the DVD of this film, David Lynch included David Lynch's 10 clues to unlocking this thriller. And they're very specific things. It says pay particular close attention. In the beginning of the film, at least 2 clues are revealed before the credits. That's like a 30-second clip, right? 2 clues are presented. The pillow, we're having a dream, yada, yada, yada. But it goes further
What's
down.
The second clue?
Second clue is notice the appearance of the red lampshade.
The 2 clues. We have the bed, the pillow, that it's a dream state. What's the other clue?
That is up for interpretation.
Yeah.
Yeah. His clue number 2, notice the appearance of the red lampshade. Can you hear the title of the film that Adam Keshner is auditioning actresses for? Is it mentioned again? But the ones that are really specific is like who gives a key and why. And so then as you're watching the film, it becomes apparent of how many characters are handing keys and why they're handing it, because each character has a different reason for handing the keys. That stuff is fucking fascinating.
It is. Yep.
It's fascinating. And he does that really well. If he would do it in a way that isn't so goddamn weird, you would be like, this is the greatest thing I've ever experienced. But in it, he also includes his quirky, nonsensical stuff that he adds as well.
What I call distraction stuff to make it feel a little maybe more complicated than it is, or to lead people on a path that isn't really the right path.
Yeah. The other thing I will say is that he gets a little bit of credit for things that I think that he possibly shouldn't. Intentionally, when you're watching the film and Betty, who is the blonde that comes from the airport.
Betty in the dream sequence.
Betty in the dream
sequence.
Yep. She's intentionally a bad actress, right? And those scenes are played to be poorly done.
Mm-hmm.
And it's effective, but then I think it also covers up that there is some bad acting in this film as well. So you're told it's intentional, and then it covers up that there's some pretty bad acting as well in the film. But then there's also just sequences in there that are slightly misaligned with things as well, because he'll show you something, but he'll do it in this way where he's trying to be quirky. And then you're like, well, what the spitting out of the coffee, right? He does it in this way that you're supposed to be like, what in the hell? Why would anyone ever spit out a cappuccino like that? Like basically let it run out of your mouth, you know?
Overly dramatic.
Yeah, well, and weird, right? Yeah. It's dramatic, but also just straight up.
No one does weird. You would spit it back in the cup.
Yes.
Everyone would do that.
Yes, give me a napkin and then I'll drool it back out. What he's showing you is notice the characters in the film that reject the coffee. Every character that rejects the coffee is rejecting reality. Coffee is reality. Anytime the coffee is there, we're in reality. He uses that to signify where you are in the film. But then he does it in a way that's so fucking weird. Why do you got to be weird, dude? Yep. Spit the coffee back out. We would have went, oh, he rejected the coffee. Instead, he lets it drip out of his...
He adds a stylized aspect to the film. And also, if you watch it, notice that there will be times when as the movie progresses, there will be times when all background sound, every ounce of background sound is removed from the scene, which gives the two characters that are talking, or the dialogue, a couple of them happen. One is right in a restaurant. It's super busy. They walk in, you can hear the cars, you can hear the traffic. And as soon as the dialogue stops, you hear nothing. Absolutely not one single thing except the two voices. And it gives the scene, just by doing that little slight subtlety, or making that little subtle change, it gives the scene a completely different feel. It gives those two characters a completely different feel. It's crazy stuff.
Yeah. So the next level of take from this film is it's kind of about dreams and aspirations, and it's about like what your thought that something is going to be versus what the reality of it is. Failure. Yep. The stuff in it is cool. Rewatching it again after doing what Gabe did, I watched a guy do an hour and 20 minutes on this film. And I was like, okay.
Mine may have been the second result.
Well, mine was specific to what I was like, here's my take. Let me look for this take. And then I love confirmation bias, right? So it's like, yes, of course I'm right. Yeah. But then there were multiple times where this guy's talking where I was like, you're a fucking nut job. That's stupid. And that's not what that means. However, there is this take from it where you're in a dream. The Betty stuff is a dream. The reality is it's associated with coffee. If you watch it, when the coffee comes around, and that's one of his clues, it says, notice the robe, the ashtray, and the coffee. The ashtray is signifying one thing. The robe is signifying another thing. The coffee is signifying, in this instance, reality, being awake, if you will. Yeah. The characters that don't want to be awake reject the coffee. When she has the coffee, she is in the awake state. However, he'll do a thing where she's holding the coffee, and the next scene, now it's a Coke, because now you're in the dream again. Right. And that's, again, why, quit fucking around, dude. Quit fucking around.
Quit fucking around. Here's my review of Mulholland Drive. Quit fucking around, dude.
I am convinced that this is a phenomenal film after watching it. I will say this. If the takes that are really super deep on this are correct, it is a phenomenal film.
Yeah, correct.
Okay, do you want to know what my take on this is?
Yeah, please.
And it is on the base level as well. my feeling when I was 20 some years old on this film is this is about, and people call it now the casting couch. That's what it's referred to as. It's the casting couch theory.
I've seen some of those.
Yeah, the casting couch theory. Just in a diorama at a thing at a state fair.
Yeah.
That's it.
It was art.
Yeah, I wouldn't have called it the casting couch. It is Hollywood's dark secret, and there is some of that in the film, in that you are watching actresses that are being put into roles because they're being asked to be put in that role. There's multiple instances in this film that he's saying things on the page and then showing you something, and it's disconnected. There is an instance where the director gets in the car with the girl, right? Mm-hmm. And you're like, oh, he's showing this actor how he wants him to play out the scene. But the dialogue specifically is talking to you, the audience, saying, I am not showing you this, I am showing you this. He literally says that. I'm not showing you this, I'm showing you this. And then does exactly the opposite of what you would think he's doing. And it's like that, it sticks out so much.
I'm not trying to show you how to do the scene, but just watch me, and I think you'll understand what I'm getting at. Hank, can you just clear the set? It's just, there's too many people around here. Let's get this worked out.
Clear the set, please. Everyone have a cup of coffee.
There's just little instances where she exits the building and she says, don't drink all the Coke.
Right.
You know, and you're like, what the stupid line that is? Oh yeah, because then later on when you see the Coke, you're like, oh, we're back in the dream again. Right. You know, but he does little things like that throughout the film where people say things and you're like, what the hell is going on? My take on it gets really deep, and so we're not going to do the long full thing. But if you watch the color of the garments, Camilla starts in black, ends up in red. Mm-hmm. Every time that someone gets into a part where they potentially have then used the casting couch to progress their career, they then switch into that role of being in red. So most of the movie, the innocent characters, is it Betty? Yeah, her name is Betty at that point. So it's Betty, Diane, and Camilla, which are all the same people and not the same people intentionally. But there's a point where Betty goes from being pink. She's been pink the whole entire movie. She turns to red. Camilla has been red after certain points happen. And then at the very end, there's the Camilla that is the other Camilla that then has pink lipstick on and kisses the other Camilla, and the lipstick changes, which is exactly when the cowboy shows up for the second time because you did bad.
Right.
It's a long, drawn-out thing, but if you actually watch this film after having had the thought that that's what this is all about, it's wickedly impressive if that's actually what it is. Because I could just be consuming the product in a way that is comfortable to me. Confirmation bias.
Right. You think you got to figure it out. You go back and watch it again, and you're like, yeah, I'm a genius. I got to figure it out.
Oh, well, I wouldn't say that. I was surprised that other people thought that, because I was like, this is what this feels like. But the most specific thing is, in one of his clues is, pay attention to where the accident happens. Right? So there's that overlap of where the accident happens, and then she gets out of the vehicle and goes up. Rita. The accident happens there. And then later in the film, Betty has the accident is supposed to happen here, but the accident doesn't happen there. Instead, Camilla comes down and gives her a shortcut to the party at the end. Working her way up through Hollywood to the party at the end, using the shortcut. The shortcut is that she used the casting couch. The casting couch is actually a bad idea and is going to send your life into a really terrible downward spiral. Hey, by the way, maybe you shouldn't do that. Watch the film again after watching the video and having that thought, and I literally will tell you, if that's what it is, the man is a absolute genius. An absolute genius.
In the video I watched, they did say this was David Lynch kind of portraying how actresses are discarded by the industry and by the viewers alike.
Yep. Yeah.
Right? Like, we forget about them. We don't care when the movie's done. The industry eats them up, spits them out, finds the next young, hot blonde. And this was kind of all wrapped into this movie.
Yeah, it's weird. You know, there's signs in it that say like pinks only this way, you know, like there's just weird stuff like that.
Or whatever.
Yeah, pinkies, winkies on Boulevard, winkies.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of that type of stuff. It's interesting, but if you listen to the dialogue too, though, because it will throw you for a loop where you're just like, they're just saying nonsense. And then when you like realize, oh no, this is him speaking directly to you, the audience, and him using his own voice. Like the part where he says like, you know, if what does he say? Like, if your parents find out, this whole thing will go away. And then he basically says like, I'm complicit in it as well. That was the part where I was like, oh, if that's really what this is. The whole scene where you're basically saying, I'm complicit in this as much as anyone else is. It's bizarre, dude. It's bizarre.
Yeah, because to your point where you were talking about, you know, the women spitting them out, Hollywood just uses them for objectifying.
Mm-hmm.
But yet in this film, he has a full nude lesbian
Oh
scene.
yeah. Aggressive.
So he's doing
the exact same thing.
The film got way better.
Yes.
I was watching it with Callie. That was my comment to her. Is like, this film just got way better.
I didn't see that coming.
Yeah. Let's go. Let's wrap it up for the episode. Final take on Mulholland Drive.
A great movie. I think everyone should watch it at least once, especially
twice.
if you're into the creative type. If you just want to sit back and be entertained, not a good fit.
No.
If you want to be engaged and think about a movie, this is it.
Yeah. Would you say watch it after reading the clues or not?
I have no frame of reference. I haven't watched it before or after.
It's a weird.
I'd say both.
It's a weird move to put it into the DVD, though.
Yeah.
Right. It's the first thing when you open, you're like, oh, shit, okay. Well, now I should watch this.
Oh, I
doing
have to
this?
study
game of Clue.
before I watch this movie.
Fucking thing sucks.
I need notes.
Yeah. The reference to the accident is very interesting if you take it down a specific road, because it's like every time it comes up, it's like, oh wow, that's actually wildly interesting. Keys, you'll notice keys in places. You'll notice who has the keys, who's giving the keys, and when they're giving the keys. Why is the old lady the old lady? There's just wild stuff in that film.
There is.
Why
Cowboy? What the?
The cowboy.
Cowboy.
Monty Montgomery. David Lynch's buddy, also
Yes.
another producer. Wearing the costume he's wearing is Tom Mix's costume, who was like the original Hollywood cowboy. Appeared in like 300 silent movies in the 19-teens.
He's known as being the original cowboy.
Didn't know that.
And that's the cowboy outfit he was wearing, was worn by Tom Mix, and it's like a priceless artifact of Hollywood, and the dude's just wearing it as a prop in a movie.
He himself brought his own outfit and is like, I'm just going to wear this. And it's really cool.
Yeah.
It's like a really cool jacket.
Yeah.
He's wearing this guy's clothes that are priceless in a film, and you don't even know. Like, it's not like they're like, hey, take a look at this.
Yeah.
Take a look at this guy's clothes. It's just like a cool little addition to it. Yeah. Let's go. Let's give it a rating.
I'd go great.
I'm going to give it, if I'm right, I'm going to give it one of the best. If I'm wrong, it's good.
I've only seen the lesbian sex scene.
That's a star.
And that gives an A+, baby.
Wonderful scene. Masterfully done. Beautiful tits.
You've convinced me.
David Lynch's Mulholland Drive.
He pulled it off.
Also a 4-star experience. I honestly, if you're interested, I say watch the film first, be slightly upset at your experience, and you will be slightly upset with your experience. Then go listen to something and like put something in your head.
Yeah.
Read his clues.
There's no wrong answer in this one.
No, there's no wrong answer. I would say put the clues next to you and watch the film with the clues, and it's an interesting experience then. Again, surreal. That's not something that typically happens in a film. Like I got to have the cliff notes next to me while I watch the film, but you would think that would be a weird, unenjoyable experience. It's somehow more enjoyable than the first experience of this film.
Yeah, the lesbian saved its 4th star for me, because when Kevin described surreal cinema at the beginning of this, like, that sounds terrible. I just feel like I'm one step behind the whole time. That's fucking torture. I don't want to do that. You call this enjoyable?
Yeah.
You do this for fun?
And weird, right?
Yeah.
There's a guy behind glass, and like there's just all these things that are. Yeah, he's such a weird. Well, have you ever watched Twin Peaks?
Yeah.
The show. So Twin Peaks is interesting because.
Oh, that's a great point. I was going to say, yeah, actually. Yeah.
Well, and so Twin Peaks is a fantastic example of how people react to David Lynch. Twin Peaks was a show that was meteoric, went nuts. People loved Twin Peaks.
For like 3 seasons.
Not even.
Was it something like that?
Not even. Not even. It is the fastest drop off ever at least in my tangible evidence.
Mm-hmm.
People loved the show. It was a murder mystery. What is going on? And then you find out what happens, and it's like, that's dumb. And people stopped watching the show, and it was done. It went from the biggest thing ever to nobody watching the show. And what people didn't realize, it was just one of those things where it's like, oh, you haven't even really got to what he really wants this to be. Funny thing about Mulholland Drive is this is actually a pilot for an additional show that was originally thought of as a spinoff of Twin Peaks. So there are some connections between the two. There is a version of this that is just an hour and a half long. I could not find it. I would love to consume that to see if the two, what aligns, because there's an additional hour of this film, because it is also 2 films.
Yeah,
because it is over.
It got a great rating, even though it's 2 films. So
it is.
So
2
technically,
films.
we had like 9 films that got great today.
9 films. 9 films. But it is
Dune '84. That's a David Lynch.
Yeah.
He also did The Elephant Man. That's the first film I saw of his. The original Elephant Man is David Lynch.
Okay.
Eraserhead was his first big one.
Eraserhead,
1977.
Good point. Yeah.
So, all right, folks, that's where we are with these. Really appreciate it. That's a good group of films.
It is.
Wildly different films, wildly different than the stuff that we typically talk about. So very enjoyable. Of the films, what was your favorite? Gabe first.
Probably Munich.
Okay. Scott?
The 19-year-old in me says The Fountain.
Okay.
But I say Children of Men.
Okay. All right.
Really, really, really like that movie.
Okay.
For me, I like most all of them, but Zodiac's the one I've seen 50
Interesting.
times. So,
yeah. I like that. Fountain is just literally, when I got done with that film, I stared in the mirror for a half hour and talked to myself. I was probably drunk, but it was an enjoyable experience. I hold a dear soft spot in my heart for that film. But in this experience of going through and watching these films,
watching actual good movies and The
Fountain, Children of Men and Munich were my top 2, and I actually think that Munich was my most enjoyable experience.
It's a good movie.
So,
watch it.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. All right, folks, that's it for this week. We're going to do the exact same thing again. So if you are bored out of your mind,
tune in next week.
Come on back, folks.
It gets even better, folks. Yeah.
But we are going back
movies you're less likely to have seen.
We are going back to 1977 and before. So anything prior to 1977 is on our selection for those.
That's BS. Before Star Wars.
Before Star Wars is exactly what it is. We got a couple Bond films to talk about. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, American Graffiti, as well as The French Connection.
Woo, that's the one, baby.
Yep. And we got a lot to go through on that list as well. If you've got something, throw it out to us. We can maybe try and squeeze one in real quick. But that's going to be a hell of a list as well to go through on those. So thank you to the Boutros.
Yes.
Thank you to Gabriel Johnson.
Thank you, Dave.
And thank you to Kevin Yeager.
Thank you. Absolutely. I love coming here.
Love having you back. And with that, folks, we're done.
Whoop.
Perfect timing. Holy moly.
How is that even good?
You gotta leave that in.
I mean, are we done? Do we have to quit?
And the wall says yes.
That was
aggressive. Hold tight, though. That was one more thing to ask.
That was a total David Lynch moment.
Jesus Christ, you're right. That was a David Lynch moment. Only there would be a blue flower behind it, and it would be nothing.
Oh, true. Yeah.
Kevin, we have to ask you.
Yes.
Is
this going on the podcast?
The very, very end of the podcast.
Okay.
This is the outro. 2 movies. You got like 30 seconds to talk about each. You've got No Country for Old Men versus There Will Be Blood.
Go. No Country for Old Men. Joel and Ethan Coen should not do films that they did not write. This is in the category of people that David Lynch,
Yep.
Kubrick, Their best work is the work that they do when they direct and write and partially produce the same films. And Joel and Ethan Coen absolutely fit into that. I really love No Country for Old Men. It's a visual time. It's a work that is has a timestamp to it, and I love that aspect to it.
1982.
1982. Set a little bit before that, maybe, but is it set in 82?
I think it's set in 82.
Okay, but anyways, great film, good film. I like it. I can tolerate the ending. I
can tolerate the ending.
Yes. Is all you need to know about No Country for Old Men, folks. I can tolerate it.
There Will Be Blood. Great movie. This is another movie that I've seen many, many, many times. One of the most, my hands down, my favorite actor of all time, Daniel Day-Lewis.
Yeah.
Amazing.
James.
Absolutely amazing, gifted actor. Great storyline, great. It's 2 movies probably also for you, right?
Oh, God.
Yes. And I guess the only other thing that I find fascinating about that is not that long ago, and they were literally dragging buckets of oil out of a hole in the ground to make the world go. And that is only like 100 and some odd years ago. Think how far we have come, how fast, because of people that decided, hey, we should build something here to make this do this so we can do that. Fascinating.
Yeah. And
great films, both great films.
Also crazy to think like we invented engines. Here's the thing we need. Pouring out of the ground.
Right.
If you had to pick one.
No Country for Old Men, probably.
Really? I was not expecting that.
It's probably a slight edge because I do love you can see Joel and Ethan Coen in there, and I can see a lot of Blood Simple in this film, which I'm super smitten with. It's close to a tie for me, but No Country for Old Men is would probably take it by an edge.
My super fast take on it is that Blood Simple is a better version of No Country for Old Men than No Country for Old Men is. And I hate the ending. It's fine. It's an ending. You completed your film, but I hate it. I actually hate it. And the complete opposite, There Will Be Blood, has an amazing ending.
Oh, great payoff.
Crescendo.
Great payoff.
Are we done? I'm done. And we're also done.
That you don't see coming. Love that.
Yeah.
I'm finished.